Mike with Nerd Problems Gaming here, the channel where we go through the good and bad of everything nerdy to make sure you spend your time on the best of the best. In today's video, I'll be doing a review of Space Invaders Forever, so let's get into it. So I actually recently got this game from In Games, and this is actually a pretty cool collection of a bunch of different Space Invaders games. So it comes with 3 different games: Space Invaders Extreme, Space Invaders Gigamax 4 SE, and Arkanoid versus Space Invaders. And it's available right now on a bunch of different systems. But let's jump into the games and learn a little bit about each and what I think of them. So the first game is Space Invaders Extreme. So this game originally came out in 2008, and it was a celebration of the 30th anniversary of Space Invaders. And this is actually a revamped version that they came out with in 2018 that was available on Steam. And now it's been brought to consoles, and I was playing this on PlayStation 4. And so the game itself is kind of a combination of original Space Invaders with a new spin on things to make it more modern and more fun for the current gen systems. And so they've added in a bunch of colorful animations, a lot more action to the game. You've got different power-ups, better music, boss fights, and more within this updated version of the game. So myself, I wasn't really a huge fan of the original Space Invaders. Well, it was definitely revolutionary for its time when it first came out, you know, one of the first video games ever, but going back and playing it is not super exciting. The biggest draw to it, I guess, is that you can get a high score, but I think most gamers at this point have kind of evolved beyond that gameplay. And so while that is an element in this game, I think a lot of the fun just comes through the action and boss fights and colors and music that goes into this new version of the game. So I was pleasantly surprised by this and the fact that I didn't get bored immediately and actually found it very addicting. So as you'll play, you'll go through various different levels. There's a couple different modes. There's a free play mode and an arcade mode. And arcade mode will take you through various levels and stages that you go through, and then you'll fight bosses at the end of them. And then free play mode will allow you to just go back and play individual stages and I guess attempt to get a high score if you want to. So most of the time I really just spent in the arcade mode, as that was kind of the more fulfilling part of the game. And so as you play, you'll battle against various different aliens that are coming down, again, coming down from the top, trying to destroy your ship. And then you'll have a laser that you'll be able to shoot at them. And so it's pretty simple in a sense where you just have one shooting button, but you'll be able to pick up various power-ups as you play. And as you go, you also fight different kinds of aliens. So you've got just the regular ones that will move back and forth and shoot at you. There's the ones that turn into bombs, ones that when you shoot, they'll multiply into more aliens, ones that can kind of turn sideways and become almost 2D, making them a little bit harder to hit. Some of them have shields, and there's a lot more aliens from there. And so as you play, like I said, it's pretty fast paced where there's aliens appearing all over the place. As you shoot them, more spawn. Ones that are coming across the screen that you need to time perfectly with your shots to be able to kill. And on top of that, you'll jump into various bonus stages if you do happen to hit these special aliens that fly across the top. So again, it added a lot of variety to the original Space Invaders, making it more fun and addicting. And then as you go through the levels, there is boss fights at the end as well. And so that was really cool, where you kind of had to figure out a strategy to get past the bosses and shoot various aspects on the giant alien ship to be able to take them out. And so it was pretty fun, but again, there's not a ton to this game, so I don't know necessarily what kind of replay value it has, unless you just want to pick it up for some mindless alien shooting fun for a few minutes here and there in the future. But the main game itself doesn't really have much of a storyline. Aliens are invading, you're here to stop them, and there's not really a lot of length to the game either. So when I played, I pretty much got through the main story with around 3 to 5 hours, maybe even a little less than that. As you play, you have unlimited continues, and when you die and you choose to continue, you start exactly where you were, just with full lives, a downgraded weapon, and then a 0 score. But again, for me, I don't really care about the score, so that didn't really make a big difference. So it's pretty easy to just keep going through to beat all the bosses. But again, if you wanted to really challenge yourself and limit yourself to so many continues, or maybe not using continues, you would definitely have a lot more to the game, and it would take a lot longer to beat. Also, another neat feature is that there's a bunch of different branching paths that you can choose from as you play the game. So if you want to go for an easier route, you can do that as you beat levels, or you can make it harder depending on which route you choose. So that's cool and can certainly add some replay value to the game as you try and go through different versions of the levels. As you play, you also get a bunch of different power-ups for your gun. So you get various things like a laser beam that will shoot through all the aliens, bombs that will explode when you shoot, a multi-shot. It's kind of like a spread shot that goes out. You even can pick up additional shields to protect your ship from being hit as you play. There's also cool bonuses where if you shoot certain aliens that are the same shape over and over again, you get a bonus, or if you do the same color. And a lot of times on the stages, the aliens' colors are changing as you play, which can make it more difficult to attain those extra bonuses as you go through. But I definitely think that it is a vast improvement on the original Space Invaders. So if you want to check this out with a new twist, I would recommend playing this Space Invaders Extreme. The next game on the list is Space Invaders Gigamax for SE. It's a mouthful to say, but basically the game is just a little bit souped up version of the original Space Invaders. And it's actually the first of its kind to be able to play 4-player Space Invaders with each player playing at the same time. And so again, it is more of a traditional Space Invaders like the 1970s original, but it's more colorful. There is additional boss fights, and it has a cool feature where the players can connect their ships into one and shoot more powerful weapon bursts as they work together. And so that's definitely cool to be able to have that ability to play 4-player. It kind of reminds me of like 4-player Pac-Man in the arcade almost, where everybody, in this case though, can work together playing Space Invaders against that common enemy. Now I tried playing this single player and it honestly wasn't that fun because it is a huge map and there is all kinds of aliens. So you die constantly because it's really hard to defend that entire area just as yourself as a single player. So I think the game itself is really designed to play multiplayer. And so again, if you're playing by yourself, it's not that much fun. But if you could get a group together, I think it would be cool to be able to play going through and working together, linking up, shooting more powerful shots, and working together to defeat the alien invasion. This game also features unlimited continues, so you can just basically keep going as long as you want, which is cool to some extent, but again, it doesn't necessarily have that arcade feeling where you can only get so far. But this version is more true to the original Space Invaders compared to other versions on this game. So if you like that, I think you would really enjoy this, but for me, I got kind of bored with the original Space Invaders, and this is the game that's the closest to that on this compilation. The next game on the list is Arkanoid versus Space Invaders, and this is a pretty cool concept where it takes 2 classic arcade video games and combines them into one for a unique concept that utilizes features from both games. And so there's not a super huge in-depth storyline to this game. You're playing as the Arkanoid ship defending Earth against the alien invasion. And so like I said, it kind of combines elements from both games to make a unique game in and of itself. So this was originally a mobile game, and then they ported it to the console in this compilation. And so as you play, you have basically a character that you can use in conjunction with your ship to give yourself different abilities to help you get through the levels. And so like I said, it's a combination of both games where there's different Space Invaders that are shooting at your ship, but instead of deflecting the ball like in Arkanoid, you're basically deflecting the shots of the aliens back at themselves. Now occasionally you'll enter an attack mode where it turns your ship into a bow and arrow almost, and then at that point you're going to shoot the ball out. It's kind of a souped up version of Arkanoid then, where you're bouncing the ball back and forth, attacking enemies and getting rid of blocks on the stage. And this happens few and far between in the levels though. And so for the most part, it's kind of like playing Space Invaders, but you're blocking the shots back at the alien invaders compared to the traditional Arkanoid of just taking out the bricks to beat the level. And this game was a little bit unique too because it felt more like a puzzle game than maybe like a shooter game or the brick breaking game like Arkanoid is. And so a lot of the levels will have various different challenges where you might need to beat a certain number of Space Invaders, you maybe need to destroy certain blocks, you have a time limit where you need to take enemies out, and as you play, the different levels get more and more difficult as you go. On top of that, like I mentioned, you can equip various different characters and you'll unlock them as you beat levels throughout the game. On top of that, it's kind of cool. There are various different Taito characters that you can unlock. So you can unlock like the Bubble Bobble characters, for example. And so that's pretty cool to be able to bring those characters into this game. And each one has their own unique abilities as well. So for example, the Bubble Bobble character will shoot missiles. There's other characters that will extend your spaceship length. There's others that will speed up how fast you ricochet the enemy shots back at them and the ball that bounces around. And so that's kind of cool where you have these various different play styles that you can implement depending on the level, depending on how you like to play and more. On top of that, you'll earn points as you go, and then you can spend those before a level to give your ship extra bonuses. So it might make your attack stronger. It might, again, extend the length of your ship. It might speed up your ship. And again, depending on what characters you use, there's lots of different abilities that you can do at this point. And so that was kind of cool because, like I said, it combines all these different elements of Space Invaders and Arkanoid to create a unique puzzle game. That's a lot of fun. The only thing I didn't like, though, to some extent, was the controls of the game. And so I played on the PlayStation 4, but instead of using the joysticks as you play, you actually use the touchpad as you go. And so this can be a little bit weird because it's hard to decide how you actually want to hold the controller. You know, are you gonna hold it and then have your finger and go like this? You know, do you try and hold it in the middle and keep your finger on? Because if you move your finger off of the pad and back on, the ship will jump all over the screen, making it pretty hard to control and play. And so while it was unique, and I think it was trying to mimic like the mobile phone touchscreen that the game was originally on, I kept wanting to be able to just use the joysticks because I think that would make it a lot more fun and a lot easier to play. But unfortunately, that was not a setting that you could use in the game. So while I still did enjoy the game, at times it was certainly frustrating trying to use the touchpad on the PlayStation 4 to be able to play the game. So I'm not sure if other versions of the game you can use the joystick like on other different systems that you play. That's how it worked out on the PlayStation game. So at times I wasn't necessarily a huge fan of that way to play the game. But overall, there's a lot to this game. There's a ton of different levels that you can go through, a lot of challenging puzzles, characters you can unlock, and more. There's definitely a lot of playability to this game, and it was a lot of fun, and I would recommend checking it out. But overall, I think it was a pretty cool collection, and it would be a fun game to check out and add to your nerd library. I think that's especially true if you are a fan of Space Invaders or Arkanoid, but even if you're not, where for me, like I said, I wasn't really a huge fan of Space Invaders, but I did find myself enjoying these games as I played. And I am a fan of Arkanoid, and then having that unique combination of both Space Invaders and Arkanoid was pretty cool in that Arkanoid versus Space Invaders game included in this compilation. But let me know in the comments below if you guys have played this game yet, if you think it looks fun, if you're a fan of Space Invaders, if you hate it, if you like Arkanoid, you don't like it, if you prefer these new versions of Space Invaders or you like the traditional old school versions, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to pick up a copy of this game, you can from In Games. There'll be a link in the description below where you can get that. But again, if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to smash that like button because it really helps out the channel. If you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe and turn on the bell notifications to get the latest updates of new nerd videos we put out. If you'd like to help us support the channel, pick out content and more, become a patron of ours at nerdproblemsgaming.com/Patreon. If you'd like to plug into our live streams and Let's Plays we do, you can follow us on Twitch at nerdproblemsgaming.com/Twitch. But once again, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you more soon.